terms of having ideas for like different bills and whatnot, where do you look for these? Are you open to suggestions from constituents and like other individuals?
Absolutely. That's where most of the good ideas come from. The laboratory of democracy is what bubbles up from people.
Okay, and I mean, you talk about like creating jobs for the middle class and like decreasing government spending and protecting the environment and like decreasing. Like, if I had an idea, would you be open to listening to it?
Do you have one right now? I'd love to hear it. The answer is yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because people who aren't in Washington can think outside the box. You get into the box and it's hard to bust out and think more creatively. So.
Well, then, how would you vote for a bill that would end the prohibition of marijuana for medical, personal, and industrial usage?
Well, I'm definitely in favor of legalizing medical marijuana. I think that that's important. And I'd want to educate myself as to whether or not it would be a good thing or a bad thing to legalize it outside of the medical marijuana context.
Well, I have specifically 4 bills right here that are actually going through Congress. One is from Ron Paul. It's talking about the amend the Controlled Substance Act to exclude industrial hemp from the definition of marijuana, which would specifically be cannabis sativa that has lower than I think it's 0.03% of THC. Another one here talking about the to eliminate federal penalties for possession of marijuana for personal use and other purposes, which talks about specifically modifying the enforcement of the DEA for making it so the maximum fine they can do is $100. This one, HR 2835, talks about to provide medical use for marijuana in accordance with state laws in various states, as in it takes it out of the federal issue from the Controlled Substance Act and also from the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, where it puts these issues back in the states. And I mean, are
they're
these
all different approaches?
Yeah, I'm saying and specifically like on the medical marijuana or the industrial, would you vote for that if it was on your desk?
Well, I'm not going to tell you how I'd vote on a bill I haven't seen, because I'm somebody who likes to study things out before I take a position. But on the question, for example, of devolving power for that to the states, my understanding is that California, I believe they may have on the ballot this November.
There is an initiative going on.
An initiative to legalize marijuana beyond the medical marijuana circumstance, which will put them to some degree on a collision course with some federal laws. But I really do think that one of the great things about a system like ours is that states can be the laboratory for democracy, and so you can try whether or not that's a good thing to do in a state. And so I would be very open, and I'm happy to take copies of those bills if those are ones you want to hand to me.
And it would, I'm saying in specific with Prop 19, if that does get passed and there's a bill that comes up and that being in conflict, would you support measures to allow Prop 19 to take priority over
I would say
laws?
Tonight I would be inclined to be in favor of allowing states to enact their own laws and take responsibility for their own choices and enforcement on matters relating to marijuana. I'm going to, as I say, read something before I give you a definitive answer, but I would be inclined to support that, and I think that there are a lot of people, and it's interesting, Ron Paul's kind of libertarian. William F. Buckley, who was one of the most renowned conservatives in this country, was very much in favor of decriminalizing most drug use in this country because he felt that enforcement was not working and that it was, creating a criminal enterprise by trying to control people's private choices and behavior. And then you have people very much on the liberal end of the spectrum who feel similarly. So usually I think when you have support from lots of different perspectives for the same direction to move, it's certainly something worth looking at. So that's definitely something I would be interested in.
So this is something that you're willing to look at and willing to...
Very much so, very much so.
Hey, Brian, may I ask for something? Is that in the interest of...
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say...
Maybe you can have an individual...
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, I mean, if you have any further questions,
I just wanted
we'll be glad to hang around, if you have anything more.
It's good, I like to see young people interested.
Definitely.